Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel Insecure It. This is the second episode of our series Think Like a Manager. In our first episode, we talked about the often unspoken and hidden impediments of a cybersecurity program. In this episode, we would like to focus on how to establish an IT product security program. Irrespective of the type of product a company manufactures, if it is accessible online, it becomes a prime target for attackers seeking unauthorized access to the company's data or aiming to disrupt its operations. The product security program should primarily address the following risks. Number 1, unauthorized access to company assets for illicit purposes, such as data and machines. Number 2, disruption of business operations. And the third one will be theft of intellectual properties and other sensitive revenue-related data of the company. These top 3 high-risk abuse cases are relevant for most of IT companies, and theoretically, there are solutions to avoid them from happening, such as establishing proper policy and standards. This will provide essential directives, and also try to fostering a culture of security, leveraging appropriate technology and solutions, and of course also establish reporting and monitoring mechanisms. And if we provide all of these support services to the product development team, then the risks will be reduced. Each of these above processes will add a layer of security to the company. Alright, that's a little bit of context setting for today's topic. In this second episode of Think Like a Manager, we would like to dive into how to establish the program effectively for product security. In our experience, at least there are 6 steps to establish an effective and efficient product security program. So let's review them one by one. The step 1 will be define the scope of the program. In another word, we need to figure out what we want to protect in our product security program. Ambiguities in the scope can lead to the creation of unprotected assets and gaps, and they might give rise to friction among different units responsible for safeguarding the same type of assets. The scope should specifically determine the following aspects. We highly encourage you to ask yourself or ask your team these questions and clarify the scope together. The first one will be, what product is going to be protected? For example, is it about the revenue-generated platforms, or even the internal management applications are also in the scope? And is the underlying infrastructure that hosts the product included in the scope? If the infrastructure is included, does it also cover the internal accessible hosts only, or all of the hosts in the backend will also be included? And the next question will be about the backend services. Should all of the backend services be included, or we have a prioritization list? And are all of the products developed by external vendors also included? Of course, here we just provide a few examples, but basically the concept is that the more clear the scope is, the more clear the required resources will be, such as the human and also funding and stakeholders we need to collaborate. All of these can be easily figured out on top of a clear scope. Alright, that was our step 1. In the first step, we figured out together what we want to protect in the product security program. In the second step, as the organization, we will need to clarify what we want to protect against. So the second step is what we call understand the foundations. When we're referring to the foundations, we encompass the organization's business objectives, the landscapes of cybersecurity threats, and risks posed to the product, of course, as well as the requirements necessary to address these risks and challenges. It is imperative to gather this information in collaboration with the other stakeholders so that it's a teamwork and it's shared responsibilities. The clearer the understanding of these foundational aspects, the more efficient and sustainable the program can be developed. Alright, that is our short and sweet step 2. In our step 3, we would like to call out again the importance of obtaining commitment from the leadership team. Only when the security objectives is aligned with the business objectives and supported by the business, then it is possible to develop the program successfully. In order to receive the commitment for support, the security team will need visibilities. The security team should present the threats and the risks they need to mitigate, overall plans to achieve it, listens well to the constraints, challenges, and concerns of the business unit. After that, the security team needs to adjust and tailor the program in such a way that most and major challenges and concerns are addressed. After all, security itself is not the objective, but securing the business is our shared goal with other employees. Alright, that is everything about step 3. Now we would like to share with you how to actually implement security into your software development lifecycle program. So the step 4 will be establish governance. Just like any other program, the product security program requires governance. This means we will at least need a policy and a standard. So the policy will specify what activities, processes are required to be integrated into the software development lifecycle program. And the standards will specify details on how and when to conduct each product security activities and what outcomes and deliverables should be expected. There are many activities you will need to consider for your product security policy. The number one you should include is about education and training. This is important because it is there to ensure that product development team are aware of the baseline security requirements. And next to that, we should also have awareness programs, which aim to raising awareness and knowledge sharing for product security. So this means even if they are new joiners, they will always be trained to reach the baseline security level of your organization. And then the next one you should consider is about design security review and threat modeling. This is very important because this is the earliest stage you could consider security for your product. And these are the activities for analyzing and enumerating security requirements, as well as the countermeasures at the early stage. After design security review and threat modeling, the next one you should consider is peer code review, which involves the review of code once it is developed. And after the code is reviewed by human, now it's time to test the in-house code before merging with master using a static analyzer security test tool. This is what we call SAST tool. It will scan the code for some basic vulnerabilities. A good overview of available SAST tooling in the market can be found from OWASP. You can click the link from here. And nowadays, almost every developer uses some external libraries when they are coding. We don't write everything from scratch. This means testing of external libraries used in the code is also very necessary via some dependency checker tools. Similar to that, testing of images used in the product before the release is also important. This will ensure that our dependencies and foundations are secure. So far, we have mentioned a few testing you should consider in your development phase. Now let's take a look into production. Once we release something major or something with very high security risk, we should also conduct penetration tests for this part of the new feature, because this will ensure that we are not introducing high security risk into the product. And after the feature is working as expected in production, we should also consider some regular testing to make sure that we maintain the similar security level in the dynamic environment. Here again, we will share with you a great overview that summarizes the application scanning tools that you might want to consider in your environment. After you consider all of these aspects, this means your product already reaches a decent security level. And there are a few more things we would like to remind you to ensure your success. One of them is to establish and managing a legal channel to receive security vulnerability reports from any researcher and possibly pay them bounties. This will encourage the security experts all over the world to secure your product for you. And when we receive some vulnerability reports from both internal processes or external researchers, we should also manage the reporting and tracking the remediation processes. Make sure that these vulnerabilities are remediated within the service level agreement time. And as mentioned above, you will need both the policy and the standards. We would like to clarify the difference one more time. For example, the policy should state that the company must establish a training program and who the audience would be, or specifies the company should establish a penetration test program and when the product should be penetration tested. Next to this policy, the standards specify more details on when to use these activities and how to use it, what should be the outcome, what type of tooling, technology, and method to use. The specification of policy and standards are based on the used security framework, business objectives, requirements, and constraints, as well as the company culture. A helpful framework for product security is OWASP. And the last thing we would like to call out in this step is that the policy and the standards should be developed together with the main stakeholders to ensure that all of the business requirements are met. In case of a big conflicts between the stakeholders, the team should involve the senior leadership for advice and help. Alright, that's everything about step 4. We know it's heavy, but it's also because it's the most important part in this program. And in step 5 and 6, we would like to share with you some tips so that you can make sure the policy is implemented smoothly. Let's take a look at step 5. Communicate the policy interactively. When we have the policy and standards created, it's essential that every relevant employee is aware of them. Instead of just being a piece of paper or a shared document in the shared folders. To make it most effective, the security team should present policy and the standards in an interactive way. In this way, we can respond to the questions and concerns from the employee timely, and this will be an effective way to reduce the frictions. And on top of that, our step 6 will be providing constant help and support to the employees. As the security team, we will need to monitor how the adoption of policy and standards are going on and provide support when needed. This means we need to facilitate knowledge sharing session. We need to understand what exactly is their struggle. It might be about the technical knowledge of vulnerabilities or about tooling or the vendors we use. Additionally, the security team should conduct gap analysis on the implementation status of the policy regularly and help the product development teams to understand, prioritize, and fill the gaps. Okay, we have completed reviewing all of these 6 steps. And we hope by now you already feel a bit more confident regarding establishing your product security program. And we still have a few bonus for you. Although we believe these are solid 6 steps, but still there are some practical challenges we would like to give you a heads up. The first one is legacy programs. We have outlined the 6 steps above for establishing the program. Obviously, these steps cannot be completed in a single day, and the full implementation may extend to several years. In this journey, many legacy programs will have strong tendency to work just in the old way. This means the security team will experience deviations and resistance from the teams as the organization undergoes culture change. Initiating culture change is typically a challenging step, and therefore the security team should aim for gradual changes until the desired state is achieved. And the next challenge we would like to talk about is business pressure for product development. Development teams are usually under huge pressure of delivering products as quickly as possible. This challenge is intensified especially when the development model is agile. In this situation, there would be some resistance from the development team to add latency to the product because of adding security controls. And the last challenge we would like to highlight, which is also a very common one, is lack of trust to technologies. We have to admit that there is no perfect tooling. In general, scanners have very limited capabilities in detecting security vulnerabilities. Automated tools can mainly discover low-hanging fruits on misconfiguration of HTTP headers, HTTPS connection, and etc. However, these tools have very limited capabilities in discovering broken authentication, broken authorization, stored cross-site scripting, and other high-risk vulnerabilities. These issues, together with large amount of false positive that they generate, erodes trust with these scanners and thereby tendency in bypassing scanners in the pipeline. A solution to this issue is mainly to shift to the left and rely further on the design security and threat modeling activities. By establishing a proper design security program, security is integrated into the process at the early stage of the product development lifecycle. Moreover, the reliance on finding security vulnerabilities is shifted to the product development members rather than technologists only. If you have watched till here, congratulations, you have made through all of these 6 steps and 3 challenges we prepared for this video. Now let's review together what we have learned in this video. There exists a prevalent misconception about the success criteria of a product security program. Many people believe that it's all about deploying fully automated scanners to detect vulnerabilities in the product and then remediate them. At very first glance, this approach may appear elegant, as it relieves development team from dedicating time to security, and instead relying on technologies to handle it. However, in reality, this direction is neither effective nor efficient. The ineffectiveness stems from the fact that the automated testing tool cannot uncover all of the security vulnerabilities, and thereby leading to the release of a product with potential security flaws. Additionally, these vulnerabilities persist until they are manually addressed. The inefficiency arises as the product development team will be surrounded with lots of security vulnerability tickets, and the team needs to spend substantial time to fix the vulnerability compared to the early stage of detection. In fact, a successful product security program, from both the effectiveness and the efficiency aspects, requires involvement of human beings into the program as much as possible. In this regard, every member of the product development team should actively consider security issues and have a hacker mindset. What could possibly go wrong from a security perspective here? This mindset will enable your program to be both effective and efficient. Alright, we hope you like everything we mentioned in this video. If you don't, or if you have any other suggestions, leave us a comment, and see you in the next one.